You know what's fascinating about presidential legacies? SAM. Barack Obama entered office with the highest expectations of any modern president. By the numbers, he achieved remarkable things, from cutting unemployment in half to providing health care to 20 million Americans. But the story is so much more complex than that.
That's such an interesting way to look at it, Pappy. The gap between expectations and reality really defined his presidency in many ways.
And think about the context. He walks into the Oval Office facing the worst economic crisis since the 1930s. The stock market had lost nearly half its value. We were losing 800,000 jobs a month, and two major automakers were on the brink of collapse.
The scale of those challenges was unprecedented in modern times. How do you even begin to tackle something like that?
Well, he went big, massive. That $800 billion stimulus package was the most significant economic intervention in American history. And while people debate its effectiveness, the numbers tell an interesting story. Unemployment dropped from 10% to 4.7%. The stock market tripled, and we saw 75 straight months of job growth.
Though I remember how long it took for people actually to feel that recovery in their daily lives.
That's exactly right. And it speaks to this recurring theme in his presidency, the gap between measurable and perceived progress. Take healthcare. The Affordable Care Act helped 20 million people get insurance and ended pre existing condition discrimination. But it also sparked some of the fiercest political battles we've seen.
The way he handled those battles was unique, though. That famous no drama Obama style, always calm, continuously measured, even when people were literally shouting at him in town halls.
You know what's interesting about that style? It was both his greatest strength and sometimes his most significant political weakness. During the BP oil spill, for instance, people wanted to see more emotion, more anger. But then look at how that same steady approach served him during the planning for the bin Laden raid.
That operation was incredible. The level of secrecy, the risks involved, one wrong move, and it could have been a diplomatic catastrophe.
And here's something people often forget. He made that call despite his intelligence team only being 60 to 70% certain bin Laden was actually in that compound. That's the kind of decision that defines a presidency.
His foreign policy approach was fascinating. This blend of diplomatic engagement and targeted military action, the Iran nuclear deal, the normalization of relations with Cuba, and the Paris Climate Agreement.
Right? And all while dealing with the Arab Spring, the rise of ISIS, the Syrian civil war. It was like playing geopolitical chess in three dimensions, but he kept coming back to the idea of multilateral action and rebuilding alliances.
Though some critics saw that as a weakness rather than wisdom.
That criticism really captures the paradox of his presidency. He achieved these historic things, saving the auto industry, killing bin Laden, expanding healthcare coverage, and legalizing same sex marriage. But the country seemed more divided by the end.
Do you think that was about him specifically, or more about how our media and political environment was changing?
Well, look at the timing. His presidency coincided with the rise of social media, the explosion of partisan news bubbles, and the birth of the Tea Party movement. He was trying to build bridges while the whole media landscape was creating deeper trenches.
And yet he maintained this persistent optimism about America's capacity to change and improve.
That's what I find most intriguing about his post presidency work. Through the Obama Foundation, he's still trying to build those bridges, but now by developing young leaders who can work outside the traditional political system.
So maybe that's his real legacy. Not just the policy achievements, but this larger vision of how change happens in America.
Exactly. Remember that line he loved to quote? The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. His presidency taught us that bending that arc takes more than hope and change. It takes persistence, resilience, and a lot of patience.
And perhaps that's the lesson for future generations, Pappy. That progress is possible, but it's never as simple or as straightforward as we might hope.
You know, looking back, maybe that's why his message resonated so deeply with young people. It wasn't just about him or his policies, it was about this idea that we all have a role in shaping our country's future. As he said, we are the ones we've been waiting for,